what is the best way to create a portfolio, resume, or application, or the best way to apply for a design role. There's no one answer. I would probably stop asking those questions because it's like with a product, like when we do research, we have a bunch of different users coming from different backgrounds, different contexts. And also sometimes we have different groups who think differently and their needs are different. And it's on us when we design a product, when we develop a product to decide, okay, so what actually matters, right? So I think we need to be more decisive and we need to test because I think generally every tip is to some degree valuable, but it's on you to decide, okay, this is a tip I will be testing and actually checking if this tip would work for you because maybe this one magic tip, magic formula for an application, portfolio, resume worked for this person, but it might not work for you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Awkward Silences. Thrilled to be here today with Aneta Kmiecik, and we're going to talk about positioning your portfolio and resume for AI skills, which I know is top of mind for lots of folks listening. So very timely and useful topic here, Aneta. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
All right, let's start with what do you currently do in your role? You're working for, is this a company you started, UX Portfolio, and how'd you get there and what do you do there?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been in creative industries for around 15 years. I transitioned from architecture to graphic design and ultimately staying in UX design. I work in different places, in startups, in agencies. Actually, my first UX job was in an agency. And then also worked in a couple of places in a corporate until I actually became self-employed, trying to, I would say, run something like a design career portfolio. So I have different activities that I run in my company called Be Your Own Design Team. We have UX portfolio course for designers, all levels, mostly focused on hands-on designers. We have also community there. I teach about storytelling, visual design, positioning is such a big part of this course as well. And of course, generally mindset, creating a website portfolio, and of course AI in this. I also run a newsletter which is free. Write it weekly, actually sending another issue tomorrow. And I have a community on Instagram and LinkedIn where I share free content to around, I think right now, around roughly 200,000 followers. People, I don't know, which is really amazing. I am very grateful for the whole community and people reaching out to me. Always happy to chat with anyone in DMs. So I've been helping designers mostly with portfolios, job search, but also being a design team of one. And also I've been hiring designers part-time, helping startups mostly with finding design roles in Europe and in America. That's it about me, I guess.
Okay, fantastic. And so you're very equipped to talk about what we want to talk about today, which again is AI skills and getting those into your portfolios and resumes. So I imagine you've seen an uptick in people thinking about this and in terms of job descriptions requiring AI skills in recent years.
Yes. So it's not that many companies look for AI skills right now, to be fair, like transparently in jobs. If you look on a job description board, there are not so many organizations who explicitly write that they require AI design skills unless it's about AI native roles. So specifically design roles or research roles for AI tools, AI companies. This is definitely there. I don't know, Figma, OpenAI, right? We talk about those roles. Then this AI skill is like, very heavy there. You need to do a lot of different things, know tools, know patterns, know how to question the standard design patterns or know how to use AI in a research process. Whereas there are also the bucket of startups who are, of course, interested in AI. So this is another bucket. And the third one is these are traditional roles. And they usually don't mention AI skills explicitly. But from me working with startups who, for instance, do not not require this upfront. Still, some companies look for this, right? Because the pressure and the industry is changing so quickly. So it's really very difficult to not think about this as a person like running a business, right? Like you are scared not only as a designer or as a researcher, but also as a business. Like, how can I compete if another business will or already has started leveraging AI and, I don't know, making the processes for businesses quicker, or maybe the experience for consumers better, right, with AI. So even if the job description doesn't include this, I believe that there are some things that you can guess from a job description, like, for instance, if this is about the speed, or if this is about the creativity, if this is about innovation. You can read out from the words that, okay, maybe I can show off my AI skills somehow. But I think the difference is in how you do it, right?
Great. So that's a great point, right? And I think we can get into this in a little more detail, which is AI skills are becoming more important. You want to have them and, show them off in the right way, but they're not necessarily going to be listed out directly and explicitly in job descriptions.
Not yet. Yeah.
Yeah. So how does a candidate, whether it be, I'm putting together my resume, my portfolio, just in general, right, for whatever I might want to apply to, or maybe it's for a specific job or a specific kind of job, right, that I'm looking for. How do I think about understanding what those jobs I really want are really needing and looking for when it comes to AI skills? Yeah. And then getting those skills and positioning those skills, right, to match that. How do we go about that? Yeah.
I think this is one of the biggest questions we have right now in the industry. Like, people, even like when they come to me or when I review portfolios or help designers or discuss with startups, it's always like, okay, so what are the standards? What are the rules? And the truth is that there are no rules. Like, it's... Every company, I think, tries to figure this out on their own. Of course, there are companies who are in a more, I wouldn't say maybe privileged, but a bit better and more comfortable position when they actually are AI native, when they have people with some AI experience. There are not so many of those people, right? No matter if this is a designer or a researcher. So they already bring some knowledge about AI, how to work with this, how to use it, how to build AI tools. Whereas for those traditional without AI knowledge yet, they still start to figure this out. So it's not like there are some rules, but how designers or researchers could think about this. The thing I started talking about, I think I would be I would do my research. I think this is the first thing. I would basically, first of all, start from asking myself, okay, so what do I want next from my career? No matter if I am a designer or researcher, where do I want to work? What are my skills? What are my experiences? Where do I come from? Even create I sometimes advise to create like a master resume or a portfolio, like something like, okay, document what you have done so far. Try to find some patterns. You can also use AI for this quickly. And based on this, decide, okay, so what are my needs? And then, of course, one of the most important parts is, okay, so what is the market actually needs? And the companies I could potentially target, what type of AI acumen, what type of AI skills, what type of capabilities they might need from me. And how you can do it. First of all, I would say you need to verify maybe two very contrasting things, right? If you are AI native, that is much more obvious, I think. For designers, it's mostly, for instance, trying to, this is probably the most common tip right now for designers. Okay, so if you want to be future-proofed, this is how some people call it, or apply for AI native companies, try to build something. Recently, there was a great podcast from Lenis Rachitsky with Jenny Wen, for design lead of Claude. And she mentioned 3 archetypes in this podcast, remember, that she's mostly interested in. So I would definitely look for this type of insights as well from those people who are actually hiring in those AI native companies, because they usually set up some trends or some ways of working. So if they already do it, we will be probably learning from them, right? So one of the tips about building is definitely something she, I think, mentioned about in 2 roles. The one was about the very deep T-shape designer. So someone who is more almost a software engineer with a very high quality craft. Some people call it taste. Sometimes someone who can basically notice the nuance that majority of us would not do. And the same, I think, is for the researchers. When AI, I don't know, summarize insights for you, and it gives you some patterns. It's actually on you to notice some nuances, some details. Okay, this observation, how this person behaves, or the emotion that AI couldn't grab. I think this is on us. In design, it's more in a visual part, right? Maybe the AI can produce this fundamental output. The mediocre designer can generally create a good design, but I think the AI native companies and the future of design is much more high quality. Right now, we are mostly using AI as a co-pilot, right? So just as an assistant, as a collaborator. But we've already been seeing that the change is coming to something more automated. So I would even start asking myself a question, okay, what will happen if AI can do everything for me? And AI would not need me in the whole process. Definitely asking this type of question, thinking about, okay, what this hiring manager from this organization that I target, what do they care about? What this role is about? How can I help this organization in this industry, in this context? You can even be creative. For instance, if this is a traditional non-AI design role, I usually advise people to exactly think about, okay, what type of value can I bring to this organization? Like, okay, if they don't look for AI right now, they will most likely.
Yeah.
Or you can use, or if they don't, you can use it as your competitive advantage. But you, of course, need to frame it in a way that it will be sellable for this hiring manager. And that's usually the trickiest part, right? Because I think it's like with portfolios, for instance, it's like it has been for forever, I would say. Sometimes it's a bit subjective, right? Sometimes it's okay. There are some like you can create a checklist for instance, if you collaborate with a recruiter or and you are as a hiring manager, like in the process, I don't know, maybe later, you can create like a scorecard, right? Like, okay, can you check if they have a relevant experience, for instance? So you can do it. This is probably the most common criterion right now. It's been for a while in hiring. So if you worked in a fintech, maybe it would be the easiest for you to go into fintech or something like similar problems. Look for this when it comes to this relevance criterion. And generally speaking, if we can create this checklist. We can say to a recruiter or to advise a designer, okay, these are the things that you need to pay attention to, right? There are some rules in design, in visual design, for instance, like typography, UX laws, principles, but there is this level of visual part, or generally this first impression, that it's very hard to put into the checklist. It's like, for instance, if let's say AI generates for us 2 websites, let's say those websites are for 2 different companies, competitors. They have, let's say, the same product, like similar features, but let's say, I don't know, maybe they compete on a price or something else, whatever. So basically, we could say that the websites are about the same thing, more or less. And AI generates, I don't know, one website is, I don't know, in green and another is in blue, whatever. Like there is a slight difference that you can't say if this is better or this is worse. Like if the quality is like, it's still good, it's to a different audience. That's why you need to really know where you want to go. Because if you will be super upfront with your AI skills, use very AI heavy jargon, or rely heavily on just visual portfolio, for instance, this might not convince or sell to every company, every hiring manager. Because not every hiring manager will value the same thing, depending on what is the role and a company that you're hiring for. So this audience, those users and the context, I think is probably the most important in this.
Yeah, great. So backing up, right? You were talking a few minutes ago about this Lenny episode, which is so funny. We did not plan this. I listened to that episode 2 days ago, so it's very top of mind for me. But I think what you're saying there is, she mentions, and we'll link the episode in the show notes. These kind of 3 archetypes, and
Yes.
I too, I don't remember what they all are, but there was the deep T you mentioned. There was like the block, right?
The block,
and
the cracked gut.
The which one? Yes.
Yeah.
and those, I think, to your point, are good to be familiar with if you're not getting a specific direction and want to kind of future-proof yourself. And whether you're going to an AI native company that it really is looking for these kind of archetypes, or you want to be on the forefront at a company that isn't explicitly looking for these, those might be good archetypes to kind of study up on.
Yeah, definitely. Because it's like the companies who are very mature companies, and we talk about AI right now, they are showing us how they do it. Or of course, not every organization.
Right.
We would love to know a bit more behind the scene, to be fair.
Right.
But they show us, okay, this is how we create this AI tool. This is how it works. This is how we think about this. Some companies share it. Some designers from those organizations share it. Like, for instance, Jenny did on the podcast episode with Lenny. And it's not like these archetypes are true for every organization. Absolutely not, because it's very contextual. For her, it's very true. This is what she is interested in her context in Anthropic, right? Whereas for another place, it might be not the best choice, maybe. So this is something to think about. But I think if you think about your career long term, or if you would like to use this moment of, AI being still very early on, the adoption is very low. Another report, by the way, I was reviewing from Anthropic, right? Their AI adoption is very low still right now. There are literally a few % of people who use AI on a daily basis, literally use it, not just read about this or I don't know. And if we talk about very heavy use, not just, typing something and asking a question, then it's even fewer people, right? So, of course, there is still a lot of time. I think we will have 4 years, probably, organization who will probably never catch up, right? But I think it's just a matter of time. And that the role for, to be honest, any white-collar worker is changing, is evolving. So I think we can't just say, okay, there is AI, it's low adoption, I don't care. So that's why I would definitely look into those insights from organizations who actually do it already on a daily basis.
Yeah, exactly. And to your point, different organizations are going to want different archetypes, and the archetypes themselves are going to change. But it can have value to kind of which of these feels the most like me, right? And where I'm going to try to sort of aspire to be as I develop my AI skills. And then, finding organizations where that makes sense and that's a good fit. So, before you were talking about the blue and the green, right? And how do you position your skills to match your audience? Let's talk a bit more about how do we parse that out and kind of map that where I am with my AI skills, how I position those to what different audiences are looking for?
Yeah, great question. I teach my students my portfolio course the framework that's called PPF. The first P stands for past. Meaning you need to look back. You need to look at whatever you have done so far, whether you were in a university, whether you were a PhD student, or whether you were working somewhere, you need to try to analyze your previous experiences and figure out those patterns. The patterns can come, some very helpful ones could come, for instance, from what type of industries you were navigating in, what type of problems you were solving, right? For a researcher, it will be a different thing for design. What type of scale also of the research or design or just user group was it where you were operating? Whether it was, what type of organization it was, whether it was a startup, corporate, agency, or maybe you were freelancing, I don't know. This probably gave you different skills. Like maybe if you have experience from a startup, you're very good at, working in a fast-paced environment. You were responsible for researching or creating 0 to 1 products, as an example. So this is already a pattern. On top of this, there is a second P from my framework, which is called present. And this relates to your current skills. So based on your experiences, you have developed certain skills that you can have right now. And what are those skills? There's those variety of different skills maps I've seen online from Figma. I remember Intercom. I think they are a bit obsolete right now. We are missing this AI part, but on the flip side, they are not, because they have the fundamentals, and I do not think the fundamentals will disappear. So the fundamentals could be, for instance, the hands-on execution skills. For designer, it could be prototyping, visual design, interaction design. For researcher, maybe researching the user interviews, right? Testing, stuff like this. Can be this behavioral group of skills, communications, collaboration, and of course the influential part, right? So the stakeholders management, maybe the commercial thinking, the business mindset, stuff like this. So I would go through this and try to figure out, okay, so what are those skills that I have developed? Also in the context. So for instance, if this was a startup, as I already said, you might be very good at like working in this super quick environment. And also the size of the team can determine if you are more of a generalist designer, and maybe you can lean towards this block shaped, right? What's Jenny called designer, or maybe you were mostly focused on one thing. Then you can maybe go deeper into this. So I would try to figure this out. There's of course another level for skills. I think this present second step in my framework that I remind myself and other designers as well. This part about myself and my natural talents or strengths, like where my curiosity leads me to. Like, because the tip, for instance, right now for actually, I think any product person is, oh, you need to build. Yeah, right? You need to feel how it is to build. But not, I don't think everyone wants to do it to this degree that probably this advice is coming from. So I would try to figure out what is this interest that I have inside me. Because if you, of course, you can build, and I don't think you can omit this part. But if we talk about very advanced AI outputs in design, research, and general in product development, then we really need to think about really high quality, like high bar for knowing how to build, I think, and understanding everything and like operating in this. So I would
No, I was just going to say, when we think about, you talked a little bit about some of the skills maybe becoming obsolete, but I think to your point, what's not going to be obsolete, right, is everyone talks about taste, but maybe to put a finer point on it, like I know what a good outcome is, right? So when we think about evals and we think about, right, like those fundamental skills that tell me whether it be pixel perfection, whether it be usability, whether it be a sense of scope and scale and where we're going to find impact, whatever it is, right? Like these honed skills from experience of what a good finished product is, because the how we get there is changing rapidly, right?
Yes.
Those are going to be the obsolete skills. But the experience of I will put my name on it and be accountable for where we get in the end with these new methods, those are transferable skills, right? Long into the future.
Yeah. But also those, of course, I said obsolete, but this was actually, I wouldn't say those fundamental skills will become obsolete, because exactly like knowing the rules of, I don't know, typography, how to run user interviews, stuff like this, you will. It's this and the experience that comes with those skills, of course. I think this will be always helpful. And of course, on top of this, I think one bucket of skills that maybe in this AI era we should pay attention more to is, of course, on top of the accountability, influence, being decisive, is this the human part, the collaboration. Like how, okay, if there is a group of stakeholders and you have, I don't know, 2 or 3 great decisions, and I don't know, one group thinks that, I don't know, the option A is the best for us to do something, whereas another group thinks that this is option B. How do you decide, right? Like we've been always, of course, balancing between some trade-offs. There's always every decision is about a trade-off. Like we learn about things. We have, the time is short, the budget is low. Maybe those users need this, whereas those users don't need this, but they need something else. So we've been always balancing between those trade-offs. But I think maybe right now with AI, we'll have more even those trade-offs, right? If the output is better, then we are okay. So now it's more difficult to decide, right?
Right.
And then and then how do you decide? Like, who decides actually? Like, who will become accountable? And also, how do you collaborate with those people? Like, if people will be very opinionated, how can you convince a C-level person, okay, I believe that this is the direction we should take. So I think this is maybe a huge part that maybe we will see more in portfolios, and we will probably require more in the hiring process as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a nice connection to your curiosity point as well, of what are you curious about, and how does that take you to good decisions and good ideas?
Yeah, exactly. Because this point actually will help you avoid burnout, I think.
Yep.
Because it's probably the biggest one. So we had past, the analysis of your past. We have present, so analysis of your skills. And the last part of my framework is F, which stands for future. Meaning, okay, so what is my goal? Where am I going? What is this role? What is the organization type that I want to join? And how I think about me in this AI bucket. I think if I don't see myself yet in an AI native organization, how do I use it? How do I navigate when this industry will be changing? Like, you might not change your portfolio, you might not change your resume approach for hiring, how you sell yourself as a potential employee, but the industry will be changing, right? And we can see that it's been developing super fast. So I don't think you can't think about this part as well.
Great. So like the Christmas Carol, we've got past, present, and future, and sort of, staking out these different aspects, the patterns, the skills, and the goals that map to each. And this can be your kind of framework for putting that portfolio together.
Yes, for shaping probably first of all your goal, your positioning, your North Star, something that it's probably some people will call it a strategy, right? So, right, it's like, okay, I decide to go to a startup in an AI, I don't know, tech place area. So I'm resigning from something else, and I will be focusing on this part. I will be trying to gain insights from people working in similar places and see how they work, maybe even check on, okay, how they create their portfolios. This is probably the best benchmark, by the way, portfolios. Maybe listening to some, checking on insights from people who are close to this context. That's how I usually advise students and designers in general to approach their applications.
Great. Okay, so when it comes to the AI pieces of putting these plans together, where do you see folks go wrong, or what are your kind of top tips for getting it right?
Yeah, I love the question. Very hard to say what they get wrong, but I think maybe there's one tip, and this is probably true no matter if there's AI right now, because we have AI, it's probably more visible because everyone gets stressed, very emotional. There are lots of layoffs, things are happening, and it's definitely not pleasant for everyone. There are, of course, the part of people who are really thriving in this change. That's definitely true. But I think just looking and asking questions like, okay, so what are the rules, or what are the what is the best way to create a portfolio, resume, or application, or the best way to apply for a design role? There's also one of the most common questions. There's no one answer. And I know that many of us, I think I was in this position myself as well. We sometimes get frustrated, like when we get rejections and, one hiring manager advises you to do something, another says something totally different, and you're like, oh God, how can I navigate this?
Right.
This is so subjective. This doesn't make sense. And you are so mad. So I would probably stop asking those questions, because it's like with a product, like when we do research, we have a bunch of different users coming from different backgrounds, different contexts. And also sometimes we have different groups who think differently, and their needs are different. So and it's on us when we design a product, when we develop a product, to decide, okay, so what actually matters, right? So I think we need to be more decisive, and we need to test, because I think generally every tip is to some degree valuable, but it's on you to decide, okay, this is a tip I will be testing and actually checking if this tip would work for you, because maybe this one magic tip, magic formula for an application, portfolio, resume worked for this person, but it might maybe not work for you. It also depends on the timing, your context, everything. So I wouldn't go and ask this question and get frustrated about the fact that we as hiring managers have different opinions sometimes, because we have some experiences and we come with certain knowledge. We hire for certain context, so we will have different opinions. There are some patterns, of course, and if you've been in a hiring or for a while, or if you review hundreds of portfolios and application, you can spot some patterns. That's why we sometimes share opinions, I think, and especially also hiring managers who do it on a full-time basis. So it's fair to check on it, but it's also on you to actually put on a boss or product owner hat and actually, say, I am responsible for my application. I will focus on what I can change. I think this is very revealing to some degree, of course. I would focus on this. I would focus on trying to focus on what I can change. And when it comes to one more tip to the AI context, is if AI can generate portfolio, can build something for you, can even write a case study for you. I've seen so many case study generators lately. Then you need to think differently. If every designer or researcher or product person ask about, so what is the best AI case study generator or a best prompt for writing a case study, positioning, or a tool for creating a website or a format of a portfolio, these are wrong questions in my opinion, because this is the how. You decide on this. You should think differently, and you actually should, especially right now in an AI era, you should question the status quo and try to actually be brave and go also do things that majority don't do, especially when the market is so competitive.
Yeah. So Aneta, I hear you saying, and I think, any job is about fit, and it's subjective, right? And so part of it is you're not going to be all things to all people, even if on paper multiple of them might look like they might be good fits, right? Maybe the hiring manager and you didn't click. Maybe you didn't click on that day, right? So there's a lot out of your control in this. And so I hear you saying, focus on what you can change, but I'm wondering what should you change, right? And how do you stay true to your strategy and your North Star, right? While at the same time taking in useful signals as you go through this process. How do you kind of balance iterating and changing so you can land those jobs and stand out, but also remaining true to this kind of who you are?
Yeah, a great question. I think it comes to your decisions. I think majority of us, when we apply for jobs, we of course care about getting a job. Like maybe we are in a difficult situation, or it's just about our career goals, and we try to show everything. Show the whole process we did, every artifact that we created, every sticky notes with this tiny detail insight from this user. Show basically everything. It's then in this hiring process, it can become a bit overwhelming. So I would try to think from a different way. Look at this from a different way, trying to think, so what can I delete? What doesn't matter? Maybe what would not change the story about me? And I would try to maybe filter against the strongest, more clear, more explicit signals that will show this story, this positioning that we talked about before to this hiring manager. I think this is the best way. We even been seeing already, like right now, there are more and more designers on this more AI native part who want to position themselves as builders, as taste crafters, however you call them, that they try to basically create a portfolio product they don't write case studies, they don't share anything. They just show what they built, show how they designed it, even use some handmade elements in on their websites. So this is how you could do it. And I think even if you are not visual, you can still think about this. That's why, like if you're a researcher, we have communication, right? We have words. You can use these things to write your story in a different way. Maybe not the most proper, like maybe AI would generate for us like a perfect sentence. Maybe you can think about, I would even say like a content creator sometimes, like a marketer. Okay, maybe I can ask a rhetoric question instead of saying that I improved user engagement by 10%. I know business impact is very important, and I think during last year we were even more vocal about how important metrics are and how important the value for business is. And I think we'll be seeing more of this, especially in AI, right? Because people will be we will start questioning this even more than now. Every role, every output, what is worth our time, what is worth our money. So of course, this part do not disappear, I think. But if everyone will write change like this increase in user engagement by 10%, and it would be an opener for every project story or portfolio story, it can become a bit boring after some time. Yep. So maybe you can try to question, okay, how can I start my portfolio or story from a different way? Maybe I even can go outside of a portfolio format. How can I, use some connections with people? Maybe you can record video intro. Maybe you can do something different. Of course, I'm telling a lot about the why, but it's about the how. But it's mostly about, okay, how can I do it different? Why I want to do it different? What this hiring manager cares about? I would try to question this probably.
Okay. Yeah. Great. We always like to crystal ball around here. So, a future-looking question, right? We talked before about the past, the present, and the future. But
yes,
if we fast forward, let's say a year, but pick your time frame, how do you think people will be thinking differently about how they put their resumes together, how they position their AI skills?
I think more people, more designers, more researchers, more product people will, of course, use and show AI skills in their applications. I think we will see it more explicitly, and I think AI will, of course, develop. Maybe we will have more autopilots, more automations, and maybe we'll start actually discussing. Okay, there is this output and everything that AI generates. Where am I? And we will maybe try to create new roles for ourselves. How can I be in this business context? Maybe some people will change roles even. I think those questions will appear sooner or later. So I would probably start asking them right now to try to reflect how can I navigate my career. Some people maybe even will create their own things, like already we're seeing people build products. So I think we will see more of this, and I think maybe I hope we'll be more clear about those requirements for AI skills. Like maybe we will see more patterns, and maybe I hope more insights from AI native organizations who will share more about, okay, this is what worked for us. This is maybe what is good to know, or be like, what is your AI capability at this level or that level? Maybe we'll see an update on this. I think something like this, maybe a bit more around how we can actually show our competitiveness, like what is our competitive advantage. If AI is creating everything, the resume is out there, the portfolio is out there. So I think we will see more unique applications and some transitions. I think so. That's at least my prediction.
Okay, yeah, great. Any closing thoughts on portfolios and AI skills before we move to our rapid fire section?
I do. Well, don't be afraid to, of course, use it and think for yourself. Use this critical thinking that we have, and because everything is worth it, worth listening. But of course, you need to see what works for you, what's best for your context. And I think thinking for yourself is something that can definitely bring you more fulfillment a long run.
Awesome. All right, rapid fire. What is your favorite research interview question?
Yes, I saw this question when you sent me over. I was thinking, I think my favorite one is, saying something like, okay, that's interesting. Tell me more about this. Yeah, this is probably the most open-winded statement that we can say. And I really like to ask this.
And that's when you get the good stuff, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
the juice.
What are a few resources that you recommend to others, whether about design, portfolios, job searching, anything?
As for this week, I would say AI reports. I've been quite deep into this during last 2 weeks. I think I read, 5 or 8 reports from different organizations. And these are, because we don't have so many books. Of course, we have some books around AI ethics. I think I read one last year about machine and stuff like this. Of course, these are the fundamentals. But I think the most fresh one, and maybe some that can give you some more perspectives and maybe can force you to shape your own opinions, are those fresh reports that companies do, or even interviews with some people from AI companies. These are great. The report part, as an example, a great one about market labor research, I think from Anthropic, about this AI adoption was really great read. As one example, recently for designers, a Figma report about by the way, the most important skill still in hiring based on their report is visual design. Still, so I think I would look at those, and maybe one more resource is a book. I remember I always recommend some research, business books, stuff like this, but recently I was a bit overwhelmed with also what's happening in the industry, and I started coming back to some classic positions. And I read this sociology book from Goffman, the presentation of self in everyday life, something like this, which I read this many years ago, I think. And it was really a great reminder of how actually we as humans behave, because it's literally about how people, to be fair, perform their identities. So, and I think something similar happens also when we try to frame our positioning, or when we go to a job interview, or where we frame our portfolio. It's also, we try to shape our identity. How can we be seen by this hiring manager? So I think this is really a good reflection, something that is also very classic and based in sociology. So I think I would definitely recommend this position.
Okay, wonderful. I'll have to check that out. Where can folks follow you?
Yes, on LinkedIn, of course, my name and surname, Aneta Kmiecik, but also on Instagram, ux.aneta. Of course, I strongly invite folks to check out my newsletter, Be Your Own Design Team. And of course, my portfolio course. We have a community as well, uxportfolio.co. So these are the places where I am.
Wonderful. Lots of places, and we'll link everything again in the show notes so folks can find it easily. But thank you so much for being a delightful guest, Aneta.
Thank you for having me.